So I was looking for a new avenue in which to use stop-motion animation, and I latched upon Sinbad.
And thank God he did, because with the 7th Voyage of Sinbad, Ray Harryhausen not only set a new standard for stop-motion animation, but fantasy movies in general, going on to influence an entire generation of filmmakers in the process. The Thief of Baghdad may have set a new standard for Arabian Nights adventures, but that one had a serious lack of stop-motion monsters. So let's take a look at another fantasy movie classic with the 7th Voyage of Sinbad. So the last Harryhausen film I talked about was The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, which had a huge impact on future monster flicks, even being cited as a direct influence on Godzilla. But this one is arguably even more important because this is where Harryhausen really stepped up his game and established himself as the legend he is today. Up to this point, Harryhausen's movies had mostly been relatively low-budget B-movies that just focused on one monster. However, Harryhausen wanted to expand his horizons and do something more ambitious, and he thought a movie featuring the legendary character Sinbad would be the perfect way to do it. This one would be filmed in color, in widescreen, and most importantly, would feature several different monsters. Rather than just a simple creature feature, Harryhausen wanted to make a grand fantasy adventure. So in 1958, we got the 7th Voyage of Sinbad. Although many people think of this as exclusively Harryhausen's film, it was directed by Nathan Duran, who was mostly known for sci-fi movies like The Deadly Mantis, The Brain from Planet Arus, and a movie I talked about earlier on this channel, Attack of the 50-Foot Woman.
You're a deputy, do something! I can't shoot a lady!
Alright, this movie is a lot better than that one, I promise. Harryhausen's animation is usually the first thing people mention about this movie, and rightly so, but I also gotta give props to Bernard Herrmann's kick-ass musical score, which gets you excited right from the opening credits. And that is about all I can play without risking this video getting flagged, but the whole thing's available on YouTube, so if you're a fan of movie soundtracks, give it a listen. And even though this isn't a sequel, don't expect an origin story here, since we open on Captain Sinbad, played by Kerwin Matthews, already out to sea. However, he seems to be a little lost.
Sound for a depth.
A sounding? Here?
Aye.
Captain! Full fathom 7!
Good news, you found land. Bad news, it's a Ray Harryhausen movie, so it's probably full of monsters.
We'll go ashore at the first light of dawn. May Allah grant we find food and water.
And may Allah grant we find nothing more.
Sorry, dude, but Allah's not doing you this favor. If he did, it wouldn't be a very exciting movie. Sinbad's got other things on his mind, though. He's about to get married to a princess. Oh, okay. I was kinda hoping the princess would be a little younger. Hey, that's better. This is Princess Parissa, and her and Sinbad are due to get married in Baghdad. And unlike the princess in The Thief of Baghdad, she actually has a name. They do, however, both share a love for flowery romantic dialogue.
I think you invented the island for just this purpose.
For another such kiss, I'd invent a whole continent.
Arabian Nights pillow talk. Oh, well, this island doesn't seem so bad. Look, they got some fresh fruit from the farmer's market. Maybe they can get some milk from the giant goats that apparently live here. Alright, actually those footprints belong to the movie's first Harryhausen creation, and one of the things people remember the most from this movie.
Help me! Help me!
So there you go, less than 7 minutes in, and we've already got arguably the best Cyclops in cinema history. In a time when most movie Cyclops were just a guy wearing a loincloth and some makeup, Harryhausen's design really stood out. Not only did giving it goat legs make it look distinctive, but it also meant he didn't have to worry about animating clothes or Cyclops wang.
I designed the Cyclops very carefully because I didn't want people to think it was a man in a suit.
That's a good reason too, I guess. Seriously though, this is why Harryhausen wanted to make this movie. He was tired of fantasy movies that paid lip service to mythological creatures but didn't deliver.
As I remember growing up with Maria Montez films. She and Sabu and John Hall made a series of Arabian Night pictures, and they would talk about the Rock, they'd talk about the Cyclops, but you never saw it on the screen.
Yeah, and if you did, they rarely looked this good or had action sequences this dynamic. And if you don't believe me, here's an example of another 1950s movie Cyclops. You know, I think that might have been a man in a costume. By the way, the Cyclops was chasing this guy, who luckily happens to have a magic lamp with him. Instead of just rubbing it, though, you need to say some magic words.
From the land beyond, from the world past hope and fear.
Come on, Genie, get your ass out here.
I bid you, Genie, now appear.
I mean, that's basically what I said. And what the hell? The Genie's a kid? This is a long way off from the giant-sized Genie from The Thief of Baghdad. All I can say is this Genie's name better not be Kenny.
I command you to build me a barrier between those men and the Cyclops.
Okay, on the plus side, this Genie doesn't seem to have any limit to the amount of wishes you can make. Either that or this guy used his first wish to ask for unlimited wishes. The Genie creates a force field that the Cyclops can't get through, enabling Sinbad and his men to escape.
If your lamp has such power, why didn't you destroy the monster?
The Genie of the lamp cannot be used to work harm.
Oh, so he's got some of the same rules as the Robin Williams Genie.
But in protection, his powers are invincible.
Oh yeah? Invincible this, bitch. Damn, looks like that guy should have really wished for a roof on that barrier. In the process, he ends up losing the magic lamp, which is then recovered by the Cyclops. Now that he's got it, he's gonna go wish for a dick. The guy the Cyclops was chasing is a magician named Sakura, and he really wants the lamp back.
There is nothing I would not do to regain it.
Your ambition has nearly cost us our lives already.
Come on, Sinbad. Look at those eyebrows and tell me Sakura doesn't seem trustworthy. Sakura is played by Torrin Thatcher, and he gives probably the most entertaining performance in the movie. It's a little over the top, but that's appropriate for this type of film. I also like that he looks like he could be an evil sorcerer or a thug that Batman beats up at the beginning of a movie. Sinbad, however, is not interested in getting Sakura his lamp. He's got a wedding to go to. Cut to beautiful downtown Baghdad. Filmed in Spain. I joke, but the locations they used in Spain are actually a pretty convincing substitute for ancient Baghdad. Even if some of the houses in the background don't really fit, but whatever. Meanwhile, Sinbad's preparing for his wedding by putting on his zombie costume.
And do you love me just to save Baghdad from destruction?
I love you because I cannot do otherwise.
Yeah, Mecca Lecca Hi, Mecca I'm gonna tap that hiney ho. So the story is Sinbad's marrying the princess in order for peace to be brokered between their two kingdoms. So I guess in this version, Sinbad's also a prince in addition to being a sailor? Maybe? I don't know, this part of the movie's not that important. We just needed to set up a reason for him to go back to that island. But just because we're currently in Baghdad doesn't mean we can't have some more Harryhausen creations. And we get just that when Sakura offers to entertain the sultans of both kingdoms, with a magic trick involving the princess's handmaiden and a cobra that I'm sure is completely safe.
Behold!
Holy crap, how did he make that vase disappear? Oh, and he also turned this chick into a four-armed snake lady. And I'm not sure, but I'll bet if you search DeviantArt, there's probably some erotic fan art of her on there somewhere. The snake lady's probably my least favorite monster in this movie, but even it's way better than what you usually saw in most fantasy movies at the time. Unfortunately, her tail seems to hate her. Wow, neat trick, Sakura. You got any others that don't involve a woman almost getting strangled to death?
The art of prophecy has always fascinated me.
It would please us to have you look into the future of our two countries.
Two places in the Middle East? I'm sure you'll both be fine. However, that's not how Sakura's prophecy goes.
There are great buildings falling, women and children slain. I see war!
Huh. You know what? Maybe Sakura can see the future. He says he can use his magic to prevent the future if the Sultan gives him a ship and crew to go back to Colossa, which is the island where the Cyclops and Magic Lamp are, but the Sultan ain't buying it. Not sure why, he did turn a woman into a snake lady earlier. Instead, Sakura decides to use his magic on the princess by having her inhale some Joker gas, which has the effect of shrinking her down to the size of her own action figure. The Cyclops is still going to be the one most people are going to want to get, though.
No, it cannot be so.
Okay, I can still do this. This is definitely going to be an adjustment physically, but I am willing to make this relationship work. Weirdly enough, not only does Sinbad not seem too upset by this, but neither does Parissa.
The world has grown very large overnight.
There's only one person who can help the princess. Sakura?
Tell me, can you help her?
I figured since you turned a woman into a snake monster, you could make the princess big again. One thing though, I wonder who shrank her in the first place. Is there another sorcerer running around Baghdad? Sakura, do you know anything about this? So, yeah, one of the biggest criticisms people have with this movie is, why doesn't anyone immediately suspect Sakura of being the one who shrank the princess? And the answer is, because they wouldn't have a movie if they did. Besides, if they had people arguing over whether or not Sakura did it, that would just delay them getting back to the island, so screw it, they trust him. Sakura says he can make a potion that'll restore the princess to her normal size, but to make it he needs a piece of eggshell from a giant bird called a rock, which, surprise surprise, can only be found on Colossa. Again though, I'm sure he had absolutely nothing to do with shrinking the princess. There's one problem though, Sinbad doesn't have a crew.
Where will you find the crew, Sinbad?
I'll find them. Where men fear the headsman's axe more than the Cyclops. In the Caliph's prison yard.
Come on, Sinbad, what are you doing? It's bad enough you're already setting sail with an obvious villain. Don't make your crew a bunch of criminals. Alright, this could still work. I mean, maybe these guys are about to be executed for tax fraud or something.
We may be thieves and murderers, but we're not fools.
Okay, well, at least they weren't found guilty of first-degree foolishness. And no need to worry about the Cyclops. Sakura's got a design for a giant crossbow. A really, really awkward giant crossbow.
The ship's hold is filled with a giant crossbow. There's no more room.
Alright, throw the food overboard. We'll just eat the barnacles we scrape off the side of the boat. And so they set sail. At least I think that's Sinbad's ship. Even though this had a bigger budget than Harryhausen's other movies up to this point, it still wasn't exactly an A picture, which meant that they had to use stock footage from other movies for the ship scenes, and as a result, Sinbad's boat seems to be different every time we see it. Well, I guess if you had to save money on a movie like this is not a bad way to do it. Just make sure Ray Harryhausen gets paid. Oh, and there's a part where the crew of convicts mutinies and then is almost driven mad by some sirens, but that's just keeping us from getting back to the island quicker. Okay, you made it back to Colossa and you assembled the giant crossbow, which is going to stay right here on the beach, so if you find anything on the island, make sure you run back here as fast as you can. Like I said, most of the movie was shot in Spain, with the scenes on Colossa filmed on the island of Majorca, and they do get some nice locations here. It may not have the elaborate sets of something like The Thief of Baghdad, but considering most of it takes place on an island inhabited by monsters, it doesn't really need them. Another advantage to filming in Spain, the rivers are full of wine.
This water is poison. The man who lets it touch his lips will be dead in a moment.
Lightweight. Sinbad's group could probably use a bit of liquid courage, because not only are the Cyclops foreshadowing later in the movie, but the sex toys their women use are hardcore. There is some good stuff here, though.
We're rich! We're rich! Come, master! Take your fill!
Good news, you found some treasure. Bad news, the Cyclops really hates people with sticky fingers. Now this is where this movie really shines. Before this, most movies featuring the character of Sinbad were just swashbuckling costume dramas that rarely featured any magic or monster elements. But with this movie, Harryhausen really wanted to showcase the full potential that a film based on ancient legends could have. Surprisingly though, he had trouble finding studios willing to finance it because in their words, costume pictures were dead. Okay, yeah, movies that are just people in turbans and hammer pants walking around might have been dead, but this kind of movie wasn't, mainly because Harryhausen had to invent it first. Once again, I also love the little details that Harryhausen includes, like when the Cyclops starts roasting this guy over a fire, he actually shows it licking its lips in anticipation. Damn, looks like Sinbad's in trouble. Quick, Sakura, help him!
There's a latch on top of the cage. See if you can open it. Sakura! Sakura!
You know, I'm starting to think Sakura might be a bad guy. It's a good thing Sinbad brought the princess along with him. Now she can help him get out of there.
It is done, Sinbad!
Lift me up.
Okay, hopefully the princess was able to get out of the way before you did that. Otherwise, you're gonna be marrying a splat on the ground. Whew, thank God. They saved this guy from being spit roasted by a one-eyed monster. Usually sailors have to be out at sea for way longer before that happens. Meanwhile, Sakura finds the magic lamp before immediately getting chased by the Cyclops. But luckily, his men have all gotten shit-faced from the Rioja River and come to help out. Yeah, I think the wine goggles just wore off. Here's another thing people in 1958 didn't get to see until this movie. A Cyclops uprooting a tree and crushing people with it. Harryhausen had a lot of ideas for what he wanted to do with this film, making detailed drawings of set pieces he wanted to have, including this one, although apparently we did miss out on a giant snake. Normally crafting a story around effects set pieces is a bad thing, but in this case, it's what really elevates the fantasy adventure aspects and prevents it from being just another costume picture like the studio execs apparently thought it was gonna be. And a lot of myths have the hero defeating a Cyclops by blinding it, but this one goes the extra mile and has Sinbad also trick it into walking off a cliff. Well, maybe not. There's been times where I've blindly stumbled into a ditch and woken up covered in booze.
The danger is far from past. There are still Cyclops alive.
Don't worry, I'm sure that won't be relevant until the climax. They still need to get the rock eggshell to cure the princess, although now that they have the magic lamp again, they could just ask Sakura to have the Genie make her big. That would probably be less dangerous than dealing with a giant bird, especially a giant mutant bird.
Put down that spear!
Oh. Okay, never mind, that was pretty easy. Yeah, suck it, Disneyland. Let's see you make a turkey leg this big. Sakura says he can't make the potion until he combines it with other ingredients in his castle. Again, you could just ask the Genie to do it. However, one advantage of the princess being small, she can just go inside the magic lamp herself. And by the looks of it, the Genie's hotboxing the whole place. Oh, hey, princess. Sorry about the smoke. I wasn't expecting visitors.
And you're as tiny as I am.
How else could I live inside a lamp?
I don't know, magic? I gotta admit, this part is pretty original. I can't think of too many other movies where a non-magical character goes inside a lamp like it's a real physical place.
What is your name?
Barani.
I'm still just gonna call you the Genie. Another similarity to the Robin Williams Genie, he longs to be free, but instead of a wish, you need to solve a riddle to free him.
When the big that is small shall again become tall, into fiery rock to rise, you must fall.
Can't you just give me the one about the guy going to St. Ives? Alright, let's make a deal. I'll set you free if you tell me the magic words to summon you.
From the land beyond.
Yeah, from the world past hope and fear, got it. Alright, now that you know the magic words, you can just get the Genie to make the princess big again. Right? You're gonna do that, aren't you? No, you're still going with Sakura's plan? Okay. Sinbad's got bigger things to worry about, though. A lot bigger. The Mama Rock is back, and the adult also has 2 heads. So I guess the chick from earlier wasn't just some weird fetal alcohol baby. By the way, there's nothing in the mythology that says rocks have 2 heads. They're just giant birds. But I love that Harryhausen went, that sounds too easy. I better give myself some more work.
The rock, in a later sequence, we gave the rock 2 heads, so that he wouldn't look like a normal rock, or people would think it was just a bird put in the picture. Alright, I don't think anybody would have mistaken it for a real bird, but I appreciate the extra effort there, Ray. In any case, Mommy is pissed that Sinbad's men went all Colonel Sanders on her kid. Alright, you know what, Sinbad? I think it's about time you summon the Genie.
From the land beyond.
Yeah, from the world past hope and fear. Come on, hurry it up.
I bid you, Genie, now.
Aw, damn it, I forgot the last word. Sinbad does manage to get the lamp back, but not before the rock carries him away. Sakura kills the last of his men and kidnaps the princess. Well, once Sinbad gets out of this nest, maybe he can hitchhike to the princess along one of those roads in the background. Alright, an evil sorcerer's got your girlfriend, but you have a Genie and you know the magic words, so getting her back should be a cinch.
Where is the Princess Parisa?
She is a prisoner of the magician in his underground castle at the foot of the mountain trail.
Okay, so take me there. Actually, you know what? Bring her here, make her normal-sized again, and then take us back to Baghdad.
I will meet you there.
What? Hey, where you going? Get back here, you curly-shoed little bastard! See, this is the problem with putting a genie in your movie. You have to explain why they don't just immediately fix every problem. Movies with genies are kind of like movies with time travel. Some of them make less sense than others, but they all kinda don't make sense if you think about them too much. Stupid genie, making me walk all the way to Sakura's castle by myself. Phenomenal cosmic power, my ass. And if you needed further proof of how useless the genie is, just look at what happens when Sinbad needs help getting past Sakura's guard dragon.
Go ahead, turn it. Inside the cave you'll find another wheel with which to loose the dragon.
Or you could teleport the dragon somewhere else and put a force field around the entrance. I mean, aren't you a genie? Wait, what am I saying? They can't get rid of Harryhausen's hard work. Because in addition to the Cyclops, this was one of the best dragons anybody had ever seen up to that point. And once again, if you don't believe me, here are some movie dragons from roughly the same time as this. Why did that last one sound like Godzilla? The point is, while most movie dragons were either guys in costumes or awkward mock-ups that couldn't move much, this was one of the first movies to show a truly dynamic, awesome-looking dragon. Harryhausen even includes details like the dragon breathing. I will admit though, the fire breathing effect is a little awkward, which is probably why it doesn't do it that much.
I knew I could trust your Sinbad to bring the lamp to us. Now I will show you a sight which will make your heart leap.
Hang on, Sakura, I'll get to the skeleton in a bit. And again, Sinbad, instead of getting Sakura to make the princess big, you could just use the genie. I'm just saying. Sakura makes the potion and restores the princess to her original size. Now you just need to get the hell out of here.
And now, if you please, my lamp.
You shall have it when we are safely at the ship.
Or you could just not give it to him at all, considering he's an evil sorcerer. Case in point, just look what he does next. Yeah, that's right, those eyebrows have the power to bring the dead back to life. So here we have arguably the most famous set piece of the movie, where Sinbad has a sword duel with a skeleton. This part is usually overshadowed by Harryhausen's later work in Jason and the Argonauts, which involves 7 skeletons, but it's important to remember that that scene wouldn't exist without this movie establishing the template first. Considering how goofy most horror movie skeletons looked at the time, seeing somebody have a choreographed sword fight with one must have been pretty impressive in 1958. To film this scene, Kerwin Matthews rehearsed with an Italian fencing expert and had to carefully memorize all the moves, then repeat them with nobody there so it would line up with Harryhausen's animation. Actors are used to having to react to special effects that aren't there nowadays, but in 1958, this was a pretty new thing. So kudos to Kerwin Matthews for committing to a fight scene that he wouldn't see the results of for several months. Another thing I gotta mention is Bernard Herrmann's music here. I love how the soundtrack almost sounds like somebody playing a skeleton's ribcage like a xylophone. One thing about fighting a skeleton though, where do you stab it? The ribs? The eye socket? How do you kill this thing? Oh. Okay, that works. Yeah, looks like you shouldn't have installed that staircase to nowhere, Sakura. And I'm not giving you the lamp back either, you cue ball son of a bitch. Sinbad and the princess try to make it back to the ship, but Sakura uses his magic to collapse a bridge like it's from a 90s video game. What are they gonna do?
We must summon the genie quickly.
Oh yeah, they have a genie with unlimited wishes. This should be pretty easy.
Command me, O princess.
Get us out of this cave. Actually, you know what? Teleport us both back to Baghdad right now. Or, fine, I guess a rope will do instead. Alright, they managed to make it across the gap and inspire George Lucas in the process. But wait, didn't the princess promise to set the genie free?
Into fiery rock to rise, you must fall. This is the fiery rock, and the lamp must be thrown into it if he's ever to be set free.
Okay, even when I watched this movie as a kid, I remember thinking, what if they were wrong? The genie's riddle was pretty vague and could have been metaphorical, so they better hope throwing his lamp into molten lava actually sets him free instead of roasting him alive. Yeah, I'm sure he's fine. Alright, now all they gotta do is make it past Sakura's guard dragon and it looks like they're home free. Oh yeah, right. It'd be kind of weird if there was just one Cyclops on this island. By the way, here's another example of Harryhausen's attention to little details. The first Cyclops had one horn that curved backwards, while this one has two horns that curve forward, indicating it's a different Cyclops. This is a small detail that most people probably wouldn't notice, but it shows Harryhausen's dedication to his craft instead of just recycling the same Cyclops model. And remember when Harryhausen said that most fantasy movies at the time would mention monsters but not actually show them? Well, not only does this show a Cyclops and a dragon, it also has a scene where a Cyclops fights a dragon. Not only is this an exciting climax, but it'll also make a great still for the back of the VHS box. I mean, it got me to rent it from the video store as a kid. Also, even though this is usually thought of as a family flick, I love how violent this fight is for a 50s movie. Biting somebody's throat was okay back then as long as they were made of latex. Alright everybody, you know the first rule of storytelling. If you introduce a big-ass crossbow in the first act, you damn well better use it in the third. Yeah, that's right, Sakura, defeated by your own crossbow, and your own dragon. Well, Sinbad got the princess back to normal size. Time to haul ass and get back to Baghdad. But wait, what about the genie? Did he get his freedom, or did they really roast him alive earlier?
You call for Brawny?
Hey, there he is. Man, Sinbad's gonna be on Easy Street now that he's got a magical genie as part of his crew.
No longer the genie captain, but your cabin boy.
Oh. Well, in that case, start cleaning out my latrine, kid. It's okay, though. Not only did the genie use the last of his power to give Sinbad the Cyclops' treasure, but he also changed his ship again. Despite movie studios saying that costume pictures are dead, the 7th Voyage of Sinbad was a success at the box office, enabling Harryhausen to move on from 50s-style monster flicks and make more elaborate fantasy movies from this point forward. Not only that, but the movie would also have a huge influence on future filmmakers. Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, James Cameron, Peter Jackson, all of them have listed Harryhausen in this movie as an influence. And with good reason, because this really set the template for fantasy adventure flicks from then on. A lot of 50s fantasy movies can come off pretty drab and plodding to modern audiences, but this one has a real energy and charm to it that helps set it apart from earlier Arabian Nights flicks. The story is simple, but that's all it needs to be. It gets to the adventure stuff early and keeps things coming at a steady pace, which combined with Bernard Herrmann's awesome musical score makes the film still entertaining decades later. But hey, let's be honest. The number one reason this movie works is because of Ray Harryhausen. His work here seriously raised the bar for fantasy films. From this point on, it wasn't enough to merely mention magical creatures, or just briefly show them in a clunky, awkward way. For the first time, audiences saw mythological monsters depicted on screen as vividly and dynamically as they were described in legend. In fact, the 7th Voyage of Sinbad raised the bar so high that for many years the only person who could match it was, well, Ray Harryhausen. It really wasn't until the post-Star Wars special effects and fantasy movie boom of the late 70s and 80s that other films definitively surpassed it. Perhaps sensing his work was done, Harryhausen retired after making Clash of the Titans in 1981, but his influence is still being felt to this day. I've now covered 2 groundbreaking fantasy movies in a row, so next episode, we're gonna find out what happens when somebody tries to make a Ray Harryhausen movie, but forgets to include Ray Harryhausen. Well, that's all for now. Until next time.